My name is Paul Carey. I'm a retired detective sergeant, Fall River Police Department, Massachusetts. And we're talking about the cult murders of the 70s and the early 80s. There was a woman by the name of Maureen Sparta. They called her Sunny Sparta. And I had met her a couple of years prior to this incident, and I helped her out on a case. She was living in a housing project at Sunset Hill in Fall River. And there was another woman, I forget her name. But they had a minor problem with something regarding to maybe a misdemeanor or a check case. I'm not sure what it was. But I helped her out on it because they were good people and it was an honest thing, but it was still a crime. But I took care of it for her. So a couple of years later, when these murders came about, I get a call at the station. I was detective sergeant in charge of Night's Major Crime Division. She called and wanted to know if I was still a policeman, and they sent her to the detective division upstairs on the telephone. She told me who she was. I remembered her. She says, "Could you come down to my house? I got something to tell you about these murders. You know, something's very strange," and, you know, she stopped down in the house. So I had 4 or 5 guys working for me. One of them was Alan Sylvia. He was in the car with me. Even though I was the boss, I was the sergeant, he was my partner. So we went down, we spoke to Sunny Sparta, and she's telling us about Robin Murphy and the cult meetings and the devil, and she figured she might know something about this because she knew these girls that were murdered. She knew Barbara Raposa. I think she had met maybe Doreen Levesque. Now, Doreen Levesque and Barbara Raposa were prostitutes. And Sunny Sparta was a friend and part-time lover of Robin Murphy, who used to go to her house all the time also. So I guess Robin would tell her things, maybe things about the murder and this and that, and that's what scared Sunny. And she called me up and started telling me, I think maybe somebody that I know might be involved in those murders.
Well, don't know much about her father. I know she was a victim of a lot of sexual abuse as a child. Andy Maltese was having sex with her when she was 12 years old. Andy was already then and probably in his 30s. Andy Maltese was much older than Robin. She would skip school and have sex in Andy's car. Robin met Carl Drew on the street. You know, it was a 3 or 4 block area, block away or so from the police department, believe it or not. That was several bars, and it was where the activity occurred in the evening. You know, ladies would come down, walk the streets, pick up Johns. Johns would drive around the block. There'd be traffic jams. And those pimps and young ladies all hung in that area. I became very close to Karen because Karen was the weakest link. She was sort of the girlfriend of Robin, but very, very fearful of her life and very fearful of her son's life. She had a small son, young son, 2 years old, 3 years old. And Karen was always in fear that Satan was going to kill her son. And Robin feared the fact that we would eventually catch Karen in a weak moment. Ever since the time Karen observed the crushing of the skull of Doreen Levesque, Karen wasn't right. She didn't have that strength to just let that go and not let it bother her. It bothered her every day of her life. So with some use of medications, drugs, which that whole crew was doing as well, but there was a meeting that was arranged between Karen and I, and the person who arranged the meeting actually went to Robin to tell Robin that Karen was meeting with me. So this was supposed to be a secret, clandestine meeting with Karen.
Robin and Karen are going to see Karen's mother, who has Karen's baby. He takes care of Karen's baby full time, right? So they walk to the house up in the South End off of South Main Street. They walk and they go into the house and they see the baby. And Robin says to her parents or to the mother, indicates that she might never see Karen again. Now this is the truth. Oh yeah, she might not be back or what happened. What should we do if ever something happened to her? What are we going to do to, I think it was John, the boy, the baby boy. Anyhow, they leave the house at a certain time, get into a car driven by, I don't know who the heck it was, Carol Fletcher, I guess. And they drove around to Pier 14, which is the Tenderloin district where all the whores and prostitutes and what have you work. And they saw Carl Drew on the corner. So they got Carl Drew, got in the car with, and I think Carl Davis was there also. Carl Davis was in the car. So there was Carol Fletcher, Carl Davis, Robin Murphy, Carl Drew, Carol Fletcher, I think, was driving the car. It might have been hers. They say from there they drove to Westport, Massachusetts, right? They dragged Karen out by her hair. That Robin admits she pulled her out by the hair and slit her throat. And she says Carl Drew cut her fingers off of her.
Basically, they killed her because she was talking to me. They killed her at a Family Beach area, Westport. They decapitated her. We never found her body, only her skull. We believe there was a pig farm nearby. We believe the pigs may have eaten the body. And we identified her skull through dental records over at St. Anne's Hospital in Fall River. Of course, the skull was not found until many months later, when there was a perk test being done in the woods. The way it went was they cut her, they dragged her for over a 2-mile period because we found teeth and pieces of jewelry and fingernails in different locations where she was dragged, and they decapitated her with a buck knife. And Carl Drew kicked the skull into the woods. They couldn't find the skull. They looked for the skull but couldn't find it themselves. It was in a swampy area. And when they were doing a perk test to build a home, that's when the skull was found several months later.
When Drew was brought in by myself and Alan, I was the first guy to bring Drew into the station at all. I don't know how his name come up, better come up somewhere. So I brought him into the station the first day of anything. I brought him in to question him. And I've questioned a lot of people in my time as a detective, hundreds. I've questioned quite a few murderers. I know more or less when somebody's lying to me, right? And I know that when I call somebody in for such a serious crime as murder, the first thing they say is, I want a lawyer, which I don't blame them, or I've got nothing to say, or they're going to be so nervous they're going to be lying about every little thing, even things that don't count. So Drew says, hey, I don't know who's putting my name out there, but I didn't do nothing like that. I know nothing about that. I says, well, could we have a piece of your hair? He either pulled it out and said, here's my hair. Could we have pictures of your body, your chest, and this and that? Yep. He took the shirt off. I said, you own a knife? He said, yep. Pulled it out. It's a jackknife, you know. We'll take your knife? He said, yep. Okay, now, the guy was wearing a jacket, too, and there might be blood on the jacket. Can we take your jacket? He says, yep. He gives me the jacket. Now, here's a guy, doesn't want a lawyer. Asked him if he wanted a lawyer, signed the rights to him. He didn't want a lawyer. Didn't need a lawyer. Gave us all those things that would have buried him. Would have buried him. And he's a smart enough guy, because he worked with prostitutes. He was a pimp. So he knew what he could pull off and what he couldn't pull off, and he's certainly not going to put himself in jeopardy in a murder. Excuse me. So he did all those things, and along comes the DA, right? Now, in the interim between these murders, Robin now is a star witness for the district attorney, right? Either Robin got some other lover in Texas, or the DA knew somebody. I don't know how it went. She's off to Texas. They took her out of Dartmouth, the hotel, motel, whatever it was, and shipped her out to Texas. Well, she had to communicate with her honey Sonny somehow or other, so she did it by phone. So Sonny would call me at the station and says, "Hey, every night at 7:30 or 8 o'clock, whatever it was, she calls me. She says, Paul, I'm afraid that she's a murderess. I'm really afraid." I said, "Here's what we're going to do, Sonny. We got 2 phones. Make sure there's another phone." I said, "With your permission, when she calls, can we listen in?" "Yep." I said, "Here's what you're going to ask her. Say, I really love you, Robin," because they had a little... We had walked in there a few times when she was in bed with Sonny. Robin was, you know. The door was open. We just walk in and, "Oh, okay, well, yeah, get out of here." So they were kind of hot and heavy with each other. But so anyhow, she calls up Sonny the night that we were there, and Sonny says, "Oh, I really love you, Robin, and this and that, and but I know I know you killed Karen, one of the murder. I guess it was Karen. You know, just tell me, or nothing will change, or something like that." And she says, "Yeah, Sonny, I killed her. I killed her for you." Not like a jealousy thing, lesbianism or something. If that's exactly how it went, but that's what she said over the phone. "I did kill her, but I did it for you." "Okay, now." I says, "Oh my God." We go back, we tell our captain in the daytime, we get through at midnight, we come back in the day, get to the captain. Say, "You know, all those friggin' calls you've been getting about harassing Robin? Guess what? We heard on the phone last night she admitted to murder." So the captain says, "Let's go. We're all going to the DA's office." So we get in the car, we drive to New Bedford to the DA's office. He calls him first, says, "We want to have a meeting." So we get in this big room with a big table. And DA says, "What's this meeting all about?" And Captain Cagle was the captain of the Major Crimes Division. He had a lot of balls. He says, "I can tell you what it's all about. You've been harassing my division, my guys, from bothering Robin Murphy. Well, guess what? She just admitted to a murder over the phone in the presence of Sergeant Carey Allen, Surveyor, and Sonny Sparta." Oh, shit, he did what a shit go blind. They brought her back from Texas. Now they're charging her with murder. Still keeps her immunity to testify, but she's charged with murder. Okay? She was just a material witness before. Now she's charged with murder. She admitted to them that she helped kill Marsden.